Hey everyone, Joe here. In this episode, Frank and I got to chat with Iron Mike Burghardt, a Marine veteran considered a legend in both the bomb disposal world and in recent military history. During our discussion, Mike talked about his experience serving as an explosive ordnance disposal technician, and he shared the horrific experience of being blown up by an improvised explosive device that resulted in the famous photo of him delivering a defiant gesture to the insurgents that were responsible. We took a lot away from this amazing story and know you will too. Enjoy.
Life, learning, leadership, the Llama Lounge.
Yo, welcome back to the Llama Lounge, a dialogue on all things life, learning, and leadership. This is Joe Bogdan. I have with me one of my brothers, Frankie Z. What's going on, Frank?
Hey, what is going on? Excited to have the show today, and also excited to be off of quarantine.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was like, you still on quarantine?
Yeah, yesterday was my 14th day. So, they give you two tests. You test when you arrive in country, and then you test like on the 13th day. So, thank God, my family and I are good to go. So, yeah, I attribute that to just being healthy overall, just taking care of ourselves every day. To me, I think that's probably a big contributor to kind of staying safe throughout the whole year.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that we're not talking enough about, everybody keeping their immune system strong. We're talking a lot about everything else but that. It seems like, I've had a lot of friends tell me, oh, this is a perfect point that we need to have universal health care and everything else. I'm like, yeah, but we also need to tell people to be healthy too, man.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go outside and run, man.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I ran a half marathon today and I'm hurting, but I feel good about it.
Yeah. You're running full. That's for sure. I was like,
Yeah. So, hey, bro. So we are exceptionally lucky again. In the lounge today, we have a Marine veteran, a man considered a legend in the bomb disposal world and really a legend in recent military history, Iron Mike Burghardt. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, man, it's great. And we're real excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Anytime you get a chance to talk to fellow uniformed personnel, it's awesome.
Yeah, man. So I feel blessed. General Gronsky kind of connected us. I don't know. Did you happen to catch him on Jocko this past week, Mike?
No.
I'm
pretty much reclusive. I'm pretty much reclusive during my days. It takes people to reach out to me to actually get me to answer up or anything like that. The last time I saw him was in Philadelphia, where we did a fundraiser for Troops for Treats.
Oh, okay.
So we did one of those. And linked back up, and it's kind of weird because with the service, with service members, you could go 5 years and not talk to that person, and then one phone call or one introduction, and it's like you knew you just stepped right back into your relationship. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. That is so true. So like 5 years, 10 years, you don't talk to somebody, and as soon as you do, you're like, hey, remember when this happened? You got all these connections again, and it's like, it's just like it. Right. Yeah, it's just like it was yesterday. Oh, I only bring that up because he was on there. He was on Jocko's podcast, and he talks about you quite a bit on that podcast, as he brings you up quite a bit, of course, and for good reason, man. Good reason.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy that had me autographed so he could hang a big photo. That photo, a large one over his desk, right?
Yeah.
Every unit he went to after that, and every job he's ever had, and now in his den, it's just a blown up picture of that with autographed, and he's just like, but he's an amazing. I mean, as far as leaders go, he was amazing. Being a Marine unit, falling under a National Guard unit, working direct. Operationally directly for the Army, that was really a big deal to me because I wasn't used to it. You're used to answering to a Marine colonel, Marine officers, and you didn't know what to expect. And I mean, he had my safety operation and safety for me and my EOD team was paramount. He actually used the PSD as our security, but he had a meeting with the head lieutenant and said, if any of the EOD guys get hurt under your watch, I'm going to have your job. Right. So those guys took it really serious about keeping us protected while we were down there in Ramadi.
Yeah. And we'll definitely talk a little bit about Ramadi, but he's absolutely an amazing human being, great leader, just, down to earth person, and super smart too.
It was really unique to work for him.
Yeah. So hey, Mike, at the Llama Lounge, whenever we have a guest, we always like to start off by asking them to tell their story, because we find that, we can often glean some nuggets of wisdom through the experience of others. So we're hoping you might share how Iron Mike became the Iron Mike we know today.
Well, I came from a Marine family. My dad was a Marine staff sergeant. He did 2 tours in Vietnam, and he'd gotten paralyzed during the Tet Offensive. So the way I grew up was, looking at this man in in the wheelchair, and just going, I want to be like him. And going on the weekends to go to the commissary, things of that nature. I was always around Marines, and I was like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a Marine. And sure enough, at 17 years old, got in the delayed entry program. My dad actually refused to sign my the delayed entry program paperwork. He's like, you know what? All your life, you've never completed anything, and I don't want you to embarrass yourself or this family. He's like, I'm not going to sign it. You can wait till you're 18, and then you can go in. So I had to beg him actually to join the Marine Corps, and he finally gave it. He finally caved and he signed it. And sure enough, I'm on the yellow footprints in July of '88, and from there did infantry for about 3 years. Did the Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and something was just being in the infantry was fun, but taking lives and just didn't seem to be my glitch. I was like, you know what? I want to be a Marine. I love being a Marine, but I want to find something more contributing than just shooting at people. Mm-hmm. And I saw these guys one day at the range throwing hand grenades. We were throwing hand grenades, and a dud grenade went off. Didn't go off. And this pickup truck came cruising up. White pickup truck. It's 100 and something degrees outside. These guys jump out. They don't have any protective gear. AC truck. Shiny badges on their chest, which was always cool. When you're young, you're like, oh wow, how do you get those badges? How do you get those things? That looks like fun. They walk down there. They come back with this grenade in their hand. I'm like, who is that? They're like, that's EOD, man. They take care of bombs and defuse things. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. I think I know what I want to do. That's it. And that's how I from that time on, I went down to the career planner, and I was like, I want to go EOD. What do I have to do? And went through that process. And then October of 1992, graduated honor grad from EOD school, and found myself where I wanted to be.
Nice. That is awesome. That is awesome, man. That's a great story.
And then from there, it just, like I said, EOD was just my niche. It was what I really enjoyed doing. And I think there's a saying that, if you do what you like, or if you're doing what you like, then you're never going to work a day in your life. And that's what I felt through the 20 something years through the Marine Corps, is that it was just something I enjoyed doing. It wasn't a job.
How long did you do infantry?
I only did it for 3 years. I got out, I transferred in 90, right after Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I think about 6 months later after that, I was able to apply for the EOD program and get accepted into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it was a good time. I learned a lot. But it was time I needed something bigger.
Yeah. When I went to the Marine Corps Advanced Senior NCOA, it seemed like a lot of the guys that were there, they all started in infantry. It was a good stepping stone for them to either move to MARSOC or move on to whatever the equivalent for our OSI. I don't know what you guys call it, Marines. special investigations, so
Right.
infantry seemed like it was always a good stepping stone for the Marines to learn what the Marine Corps was and then where they fit in that piece. So,
yeah. And I think you pick up, I know I picked up a lot of my leadership skills from the infantry, because you come into when you start coming into other MOSs or other jobs within the different branches of the or at least for the Marine Corps, into those different MOSs. Some of them are a little bit more lax than others. The leadership's a little bit more, I don't want you not on a friendship, but there's more of a personal relationships that are going on. So being able to bring that, hey, let's go take the hill, no questions asked. You do what I tell you to do. You're able to take that and then blend it into wherever you end up going into. Like, for instance, EOD, you're talking, it's all for Marine Corps, it's all sergeants and above. So you're talking all NCOs and above. It's not, you're another sergeant in charge, because we go by, a lot of times for operations, it's by experience, your badge. Hey, you've been doing it for 5 years, 10 years. So you may find yourself on a range doing work, or in a foreign country doing work, and you're a sergeant in charge of 2 other sergeants. And now, that you're not going to be sitting there trying to bark orders and then like, we're going to take the hill. And they're like, yeah, right. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's not going to go over very well.
Or even being a staff sergeant, 1 rank above, 2 rank, you're like, come on, man.
Yeah. So Mike, what are you doing nowadays?
A little of this and a little of that. I've got myself I was in the United Arab Emirates for the last 11 years, up to October of last year, running the royal family's counter explosive program. So basically managing and running their EOD teams, bomb squad teams, to respond to suspicious packages, kind of like Secret Service.
Right.
The only difference is that a lot of times with Middle Eastern countries, they kind of have like a Republican Guard scenario set up. So it's actually military providing that Secret Service protection instead of a outside or a different agency, a policing agency. So it was perfect for me, because they're managed and they're organized almost like a Marine Corps unit, where you have air, ground, helicopters, everything's part of the protection for the royal family in case something hits the fan and they're like, hey, and all those people are loyal. These are all from loyal loyal tribes. So they're their protection. So anyway, I did that for the last 11 years. Coming back here, started working for the State Department, doing overseas training for foreign police departments and military for bomb squad training. Of course, this COVID thing just squashed. I was actually in the middle of Jordan in March, and they were like, they pulled the students and then they pulled us out, and we were like, oh man, this sucks. So, and all that's private contractor work. So soon as the students are off the deck, you're gone and pay stops. So
yeah,
that's basically what I've been doing in other companies that require EOD or want some consulting. I'll do that for them.
Oh, okay, that's very cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know you were doing all that right now. That's so
you're
still contributing big time.
I'm still trying to be, like you said, I enjoy what I do. So like I said, it's not work. The EOD stuff's awesome. I have to admit that and most of my people that I run into, or people that even have tried to mentor myself, try to mentor me, they're like, you don't take your reputation or you're not pushing hard. You're not using it to its full ability. I try to be pretty humble about everything that I've done, or even in that instance, it's like, I'll tell the story and I'll talk about stuff, but I think more about the guys who didn't make it, and I think about my friends, and if I can influence that way, then I feel good about it, but I won't. I've had people come over to my house the picture and the article hangs on the wall, and they've come and gone and back and forth. And then one day they look over and they're like, hey, wait a minute, that's you? Yeah, they're all, why didn't you tell me, dude? I've been having dinner. I've been having dinner over here, and I didn't even
Yeah.
know it was Iron Mike. This
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
one of my wife's friends didn't even, they were on Facebook one day, and they share this picture with her, and they're like, look at this guy, da, da, da. She's like, yeah, that's my husband. No way. So yeah, like I said, there's times that I know I don't use this to its full capacity.
Oh man, but that's awesome. It's funny. It's like if someone comes over to dinner, like I guess you're supposed to do that at the beginning. Like, hey, by the way, this is me.
By the way,
yeah, let me go ahead and bring this up.
Yeah, and I like I said, I just it's not me, never was.
Yeah.
So
no, that's awesome, man. I mean, I think you this is like the second time we've spoken, and I really think that the humility and just a down to earth nature, man, I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that we're connected.
Cool.
Yeah. So hey, so we keep alluding to this picture, and there's probably some people who are listening to this that aren't really tracking the photo, right? So like I said, you're famous, man. The image alone sparks so many great conversations. I've just showed the image to a couple of my colleagues and friends, and I was like, hey, yeah, this is the guy that we're gonna have on the Llama Lounge soon. And immediately they start losing it. They're like, whoa, really? They get a great response. Right? Yeah. So real quick. I wanted to read this thing that is on the internet out there. You're all over the internet if you go out there. But I wanted to read this piece before we kind of ask you to tell the story about that day. It's, of course, the image, right? The image is there, and it describes the image. It says, Master Sergeant Burghardt came to prominence in 2005 when the Omaha World Herald published a photograph of him in Ramadi, Iraq, making a defiant gesture, right? So basically flipping the bird, right? On September 19, 2005, Burghardt was injured by an improvised explosive device near Ramadi, basically blown up. That's what really happened. He refused to be carried away on a stretcher and instead walked under his own power to the awaiting medevac. Now, you were a gunnery sergeant at the time. Could you take us back to that day?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I gotta jump back a little bit more.
Yeah, please.
That was my third beginning of my third tour. I'd actually had the fight with the sergeant major and the commanding officer because I volunteered to extend in country. I'd already been there 7 months. And even before, so they wanted to put me in admin. Basically, they wanted me to run the headquarters and things. And I was like, no, I just want to run the street. Plus, with Iraq and the different provinces, I knew my bad guy. I knew the bad guys. We had young guys that were starting, young team leaders that were cycling in, young guys that straight out of school, straight to a combat zone. And I really felt like, you want to be their mentor and dad and get them in that direction. Because on my first tour, I'd already been hitting the newspapers. On my first tour, I got a Bronze Star, 3-day operation. The robots had all broken. I was doing manual approaches, like on over 64 IEDs. I walked down on them, no bomb suit, no nothing, just clearing these things and blowing them as we go, doing combat operations. So ended up getting a Bronze Star for that and getting, newspaper articles written. So we're getting ready to deploy for that third deployment, and for that second deployment, and I had wives, we're doing a dinner or whatever, going, I'm glad my husband's going with you because I know you'll be safe. And you feel that was a lot of pressure on your shoulders, that they thought like nothing would ever come and harm you. I had up to that point before that day that I got injured, over 900 IEDs that I'd already
Wow.
I responded to as either a team leader and our team, and it was always a team effort. Don't get me wrong. When I say I mean the team responded, but that was my count. And the only reason I know my count, it wasn't the numbers. It's not because I kept count. It was because one of my roommates later on was I had all my awards in my room on the wall. We were living, cohabitating in a house, and I just put all my awards on my wall, not on the common walls. And he was really upset. And I went on vacation. He moved everything into the other area because he wanted everybody to know that his roommate was Iron Mike. So anyway, he actually counted on the certificates and all that, on the awards, all the devices, because you've done over 1,600 IEDs, in your lifetime. And I'm like, I didn't know that, but thanks.
Wow.
I only remember the one. I remember mostly the one that got me. Right. So anyway, leading up to this, lots of IEDs, young guys on the team. That was our first day. That was my first day of my extension. So I got three other Marines with me, a new team leader, so I could kind of right seat, left seat with him, and then two of his guys. And we'd done about 3 calls that day already. And what I mean by calls, we'd done responses. So post blast we did, I believe, and 2 IEDs. So we were already busy the very first day. That afternoon, we get a call that there had been a catastrophic attack on a patrol, on an Army patrol. And we're like, okay. And we were waiting to go do the investigation, do the post blast on this thing. And we're at the front gate, and they wouldn't release us because they said the area wasn't secure yet. And we're like, well, we need to get out there because they're still saying there's wounded out there, still wounded, and they need to get the KIA back to the base, get the wounded back and get those guys recovered. I finally had enough of sitting at the front gate with my security. I'm like, let me get out there, because they had IEDs going off on these guys trying to secure a perimeter, RPG fire. I'm like, get me out there, get me into the fight, So finally, they released us to go out and help. When we get down, there's probably about 2 kilometers of road to even get down to where we need to go. Jump out. We immediately does like, hey, we can't do this from the vehicles. We jump out, send one of my guys to one side of the road. I go to the other, and literally we walk the entire road clearing devices. We'd already cleared 2 of them. And for me, again, being kind of like that mentor, I was worried. You're putting guys, when I'm putting guys in harm's way. Is really what I feel. I don't want to have anything happen to my younger guys. So I'm actually watching the other side of the road too, as I'm trying to clear in front of me. I'm keeping peripheral, like what's he seeing on the other side. Get down to the end of this road, finally get it cleared, and there's a flipped over Bradley Bradley at the end of the road. We're like, oh man, and there's a huge crater in the road, probably about 6 feet by 4 feet. About 4 feet deep, about 6 feet wide. We already know they're going to have to clear, in order to recover the Bradley, that's going to need to be cleared. Make sure there's no IEDs around it or anything like that, or landmines. So I go ahead and we just secure that little part of the road, make sure that's cleared. I send my guy back to go get the security to come back to that basically intersection to stronghold it, so we could push the rest of the way to where the original call was. So what happened was this Bradley got hit by an IED while trying to set a perimeter, set security around it. I'm like, well, hey, you know what? While I'm waiting for him to walk back and go get security, let me go check out this crater. So I walk over to this crater, and I pie it off. I'm cautious. I mean, I'm not I'm at no point. A lot of people, or not a lot of people, but some people are like, Iron Mike kind of like a cowboy or whatever, all those IEDs and manual approaches, but everything was always calculated. Always calculated, risk calculations. Things were going through my mind at all times. Nobody wants to go get blown up on purpose, or get anybody else hurt on trying to be a hero. So anyway, I pie it off to the crater. And I'm like, okay, cool. And at the bottom of the crater was a big piece of shrapnel from a propane tank, or almost like a acetylene tank. And I'm like, always wanting to teach people. And, I'm like, what, that'd be a good hip pocket class when we get back, because the guys probably need to know when they're doing investigations, hey, this is not really ordnance. This is from, commercial stuff, from a propane tank. So I step into this crater to pick up the piece of shrapnel, and the earth shifts in the crater, and all of a sudden I see about the size of a quarter, a part of a base station, which is basically a remote control, an RC device. And I'm like, I see the tape of it. It's got the, everything. I'm like, oh man, where the hell did this thing come from? And I'm already inside the crater. I don't have a bomb suit on. I just got my battle, have my battle rattle on. because we just got done sweeping an entire 2 kilometers. You're not going to be walking the bomb suit, and it's combat. So anyway, Earth shifts. I see this thing. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I already know something's wrong. So I stick my K-bar. I turn away from where the receiver is. I'm like, let me find the explosives. I stick my K-bar in the ground, and I lift up. And sure enough, as I lift up, there's red detonating cord running between my legs back to this receiver. And I'm like, oh, can I curse on this? No. I was like, I'm in trouble. There's something wrong here. So I immediately cut the deck cord, take my knife, cut the deck cord, and on the radio I call back and I just tell the guys, hey, I've got a secondary device here on this intersection. Don't come back down. Let me get this cleared. Done with that. Start digging, find 2 artillery shells at the side of this crater. I'm like, wow, get those done, get those cut away. I toss them out of the hole. When I tossed them out of the hole, these artillery shells, the guys thought I was good. They thought everything was fine. So they started moving down to where I was, but I still had the receiver and I wasn't quite sure if I had everything cleared. At that point, instead of hitting my radio, I threw my hands in the air to tell them to stop. And as soon as my hands went in the air, I heard the crack. I heard the crack of the detonator. People ask you, did you hear the blast first, or do you hear anything? What happens when you're on top of an explosion? And I can tell you, everything goes slow motion. I could literally hear the detonator pop, and then from there the explosion. And then I woke up on the side of lost consciousness. I woke up on the side of the crater. Dust, everything's going on. I'm in the fetal position, just looking straight. I'm like, I'm not looking down. I probably don't have any, who knows what's going on. I just don't want to know at this point. Right. And all I could think of is like, I hope I'm okay, because, my dad being in a wheelchair, the last thing, all these tours and combat, and, I don't want to be right. It'd be very disappointing for my father to see me next to him. So, anyway, things are ringing, and I hear the guys though, and they're like, oh shit, because they thought I was dead. I got thrown about 13, 14 feet in the air like a rag doll, from what they said. And I hear them yelling, going, he's still alive, right? And they're all running down. So I have a Marine, I have the corpsman working on me, I have the Army medic trying to work at me, and I can't feel from my waist down. I can't feel anything. I'm like, man, my legs are probably gone. And I'm asking the doc, I'm like, hey doc, how's it look? Because they're cutting away at my pants and things of that nature. And I said, how's it going to be? And he goes, I think you're going to be okay. And I'm like, no, don't give me that treat for shock bullshit. Just tell me.
Right.
Just tell me, man, am I going to be okay? And about that time, when they were cutting away at my pants, the blood, all of a sudden you could feel the sharp heat and the blood trickling from the wounds. And I'm like, hey, I think if I can feel that, that's cool. So I wiggle my toes and I wiggle my fingers without looking. And I'm like, hey, that's good. And of course, first thing I check is your manhood. I'm like, hey, is that good? And I'm like, oh, that's good, right? You're like, hey, we're in business now.
Right.
At that point, when I knew I was okay, then I was worried about my guys. Young guys, they just got there. A couple other team leaders had died prior to them arriving in Ramadi. So that was like, dude, I'm angry that I got hurt, but I'm also want to make sure these guys know that I'm okay. Iron Mike's okay. The Iron Mike was before, that was during the first tour that I got that nickname. And so as they're working on me, I'm like, the poor guy that brought the stretcher, he actually had sprained his ankle jumping off the Humvee to bring me a stretcher. And I was like, no, I'm not getting carried out of a stretcher. I'm walking out of this place. And so at that point, I'm like, help me up. There was a helicopter that wasn't supposed to be there. It was a blackout area, but for some reason, this helicopter, Huey, had found its way over there and was watching this whole thing go down. And they landed to pick me up. So as I'm walking to the helicopter, I'm like, I see one set of buildings that I know that if I was a trigger man, if I was a guy that pulled, pushed the button, I'm probably over there. And as I'm walking there, I just flipped the bird at him. I yelled at him, screw you, I'll be back out here next week. And continue to walk to the helicopter. Well, this whole time that this was all going on, from the time we got to the gate, so much chaos. Nobody ever briefed me that there was a news agent. The news reporters were out there from Omaha Herald that were doing a story about the National Guard that we were serving or supporting. And, he was snapping photos the whole time. He happened to, he caught that picture, he was able to catch that, me doing that. And, and like I said, the guys, they still had to complete the job, the mission. The rest of the team, I'm going on a helicopter now. They have to do a post blast for me. Why was that IED there, and why did I get blown up? And they got to still go to this catastrophic, and now they don't have a team leader. So that was the foremost, is like take care of them. And then they got me in a helicopter, and off I went to the Charlie Med, and from there, they thought, I was bruised and burnt from my boot top to the small of my back. And then I had about 6 holes in me, but no fragmentation. All the holes were from the air blast from the IED. So, wow. Somebody was looking after me that day. I mean, there's really no reason that explosives, people ask me all the time, and I say, hey, you know what? Explosives sometimes just do crazy things. And on that particular day, maybe because I didn't have the bomb suit on, or maybe just the way I was positioned, it pushed me, it just basically pushed me away instead of penetrating the fragmentation. Because you could see on the backs of my legs where the fragmentation from the artillery shells, or from the artillery shell, had actually bruised the backs of my leg. You could see those bruising the next day. So it basically never had time to accelerate. I don't know. Or low order, who knows? All I know is I'm still here, still here today.
And we're glad you are, man.
Yeah,
wow.
Right. So, and then that, and then that picture, got back to the camp. The only thing I could think of once I got back to the camp was I needed the sat phone. I go, they're going to contact my family, and they're going to let them, they're going to tell them I got injured, and I want my dad to hear my voice and make sure that he knows that I am fine. If you can hear my voice, then everything is okay. It's not that bad. Right. They finally brought me a sat phone, called, and I think we were talking earlier, within a day I was already back on my feet. They bandaged me up, and I didn't want to be sent home. I was like, you don't need to send me home. I did 30 days light duty, basically healing and light duty, and that way I could manage the guys and be there for questions and all that. And ironically, that after that 30 days, my first call was back to that intersection.
Wow.
I had 4 team leaders come up to me and go, hey, if you don't want to go, Gunny, you don't have to, I'll take that call. And I'm like, screw you. I've been sitting around here for a month watching you guys all get to go on calls. That's me. I'm going, man. That's my call, and I need to get back on the horse and get out there. And that's what a great way to start it, is to get back where you were hurt. So that's where it all went. And then obviously that picture was, I say in one of the newspaper, I don't know how one man's anger became other people's, what is it? Motivation.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, wow. And then anytime you ran into people, if they knew who you are, please tell the story. And and that's how I landed the job in the Emirates, was that they were deployed in Afghanistan. Their leadership was deployed in Afghanistan. They saw the picture hanging up on some refrigerator, and like, who's this guy? This is the kind of guy we want around. And even that commander. What was funny though is the Emirati commander that I ended up working for in the UAE. He goes, Michael. He's like, he would always want me to tell the story, believe it or not, right? You're like, flipping the bird and all that. You would think they'd be kind of like, keep it down. No. Tell him about the story. But he asked me one day, he goes, Michael, have you ever wondered what the other guy thought? He goes, you got blown up. The bad guy, he blows you up and you walk away. from, how disappointed he was that day.
Right. He was pissed. He was pissed. He was like, oh, man.
Right. Or he probably like, how is that guy still alive? Is he invincible?
Going back to the drawing board.
Right.
Well, what was fortunate is that I obviously we were able to find a new tactic that the enemy was using. Luckily by me walking away and being able to explain what happened, they started doing what was called tamping, and they would put one IED on top of the other and leave enough earth in between that they could detonate the first one, and then the second one was for either EOD or anybody responding to that. So we were able to get the word out, like, hey, they've changed up their tactics. They're starting to do some new stuff. So we probably, we saved quite a few people from follow. We were able to change our tactics and understand what they were up to. Well, yeah. Did you pretty crazy.
Did you have any like permanent damage afterwards from that? I mean, you got blown up legit. Like you got legit blown up.
Yeah, I got that. It took me a while. It was hard to now we're going into the PTSDs and all that, but it was hard because there was things, and then people were, you're Iron Mike, man, and you're trying to live up to that persona, and you're trying, but I brain damage, I got TBI, TBI, I've got my back's messed up, I've got the PTSD, and a lot of those things I kind of drowned out with the alcohol and self-medicate and do the things that you kind of hear the stories about. And that I didn't think it was me. I really didn't. I was like, I thought, I just like drinking, and it was definitely, drown it out. And one day I got deployed to Camp Fuji, Japan, got away from it all. Because after that deployment, they sent me to 29 Palms, to the stumps, being a trainer. Yeah. And guess what? A trainer to train guys to go on deployment. So the same things you're seeing and the same scenarios and the same stuff over and over. And now you're doing it doing it back in the States and saying the same mistakes and just having to relive things over and not just getting a break from it all. So I was able to go to Camp Fuji, where it was like, hey, just clear military ordnance, IEDs. But again, I can't escape it, right? As soon as I showed up to that unit, they're like, hey, you know who's coming to this unit?
Yeah, Iron Mike.
Iron Mike is coming to this unit. He's going to be the EOD guy. And you're like, man, I can't get away, can't. And, but yeah, so that's pretty much my TBI, PTSD back. The hearing, of course. Right. You get your brain rattled. But I ended up in Fuji, and I looked in the mirror one day, and I was just like, you know what? This is wrong, man. I need to fix this. So, and then you start your recovery process. Right. And it was good because once you start acknowledging it, then the other guys in the unit, when I got back to the States, and you're having to go to the rehabs and do that, and they saw that it was like, well, wait a minute, that's him, and that's all right. I was able to kind of be that other beacon of light, right? That it's okay. It's okay to say that, hey, man, I've got issues. I got problems. I've got a lot of the guys that were young now and are master sergeants getting ready to retire. I'm in, contact with them. They did their deployments to Afghanistan or Iraq, and they're just like, man, I'm just, did you have this problem? And I'm like, reach out, talk to me, call me, whatever you need to do, right? It's natural. It's the way it is.
Do you feel like, being able to help other guys is probably a good treatment for you?
Like some therapy?
Some therapy for you?
I don't think so, man. Yeah. I honestly, because if I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel that way because I got to keep on reliving my experiences, right? They were asking me about, how did you do? And I, here you go to the UAE and stuff, but the UAE, those guys, those soldiers weren't interested in my stories. They were interested in me and training them to be EOD guys. So with the language barriers and all that and sensitivity, and I was able to put it in a box and put it on the shelf and leave it. But as soon as you get around other, service members or people that know your story. They want to hear the story, and you just get to relive things. And that's only one aspect of, that's just one story, and a lot of other guys have other, some crazy stuff went down. People don't realize, or never hear, will never hear about,
Right.
Yeah, it just wasn't caught on photo. Right.
Yeah, it just wasn't caught on photo. Exactly. Yeah. Right there. Right. One instance, it was caught on photo, and even that picture, when it's the picture by itself, I don't know how many different stories I hear.
Right.
Especially if you don't tell them that that's you, right? And you're, oh yeah, this guy did this and this and this and this and that, and you're just like, that's not how it went, man.
Right. I mean, if you don't know, like for the 10 people out there who've never seen this photo, right? I don't know, but if you find this photo, you're gonna see Iron Mike.
You're just gonna see the photo, right? Yeah, you just see the picture. Badass dude, right? And
right, with no pants on.
Yeah, no pants on. He got blown up by an IED and walked away, and you're like, man, you just don't, you don't get it.
Yeah,
and that's fun to see. But yeah, I wish a little more of the article itself would go with the picture, so they kind of get an idea of what was really, the true story behind that.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, do you mind? So, I mean, first of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing that story, because I know, like you had mentioned, it's kind of reliving it. So I really appreciate you kind of sharing that, because I think it is kind of inspirational to, even, especially the stuff that you kind of talked about afterwards about how you had to recover and acknowledge. But going back to that moment when you said that, okay, the dude comes out with the stretcher, and you're like, no, I'm not getting on that stretcher, right? What was the big thought that was going in your brain? Like, I'm walking out of here. Was it for the for your teammates that you wanted them to see it?
For the team members, I want to make sure they saw me walk out of there, so their minds were focused on work and not about is Gunny going to be okay. That was my only thought. I want to make sure these guys know that I'm okay. I'm still Gunny, and and that hey, I'll be back out here. I'll be back out here, guys. Don't worry. Don't sweat it. Because that weighs on, definitely weighs on your mind. Those days, because things have changed obviously over the years, and guys like me, even when I'm talking to current EOD guys from the Army or the Navy or the Marine Corps that are deploying to Afghanistan, they may see 1 or 2 IEDs. We literally got to the point there in Ramadi where in 2005, it was anywhere from 4 to 7 IEDs a day. And that was just IEDs. I wasn't going to a post blast. I wasn't going recover ordnance. So in a 24-hour period, I mean, when you come out of the school or you get to go to combat for your first time, and you're like, oh, I can't wait, man. I'm going to do IEDs and this is going to be great. I'd say everybody on the team got to a point about 3 months into it where they didn't want to hear that radio, because you knew that your time was limited. If the crack of that radio would just kind of, you get that gulp in your chest, and you're like, oh man, here we go again. But so those were crazy times. So when I'm telling these young guys now, like, dude, 900, 500, 1600, they're like, they can't even comprehend, right? And you're like, dude, you don't want to. Right. It's kind of like, be careful what you ask for. Yeah, you want to do that kind of work, and you want to do IEDs, and that's what you came in the service to do, or do ordnance and all that. But be careful sometimes what you ask for. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, the only thing, get myself up on the feet, let my guys see that I'm still good. I can still walk. I'll see you back at the shop.
Right.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, I really appreciate, like, when you kind of talked about it for a moment ago during that story, when you said, you're like, okay, I feel the blood going down my legs, so that's a good sign because I have my legs, right? I mean, like, you're walking through all those moments, and I think that's a great resiliency tactic, to kind of run through that.
And then the crazy thing is I didn't even, who knows if I could even walk, right? I don't even realize. I'm like, oh. Right.
You didn't even know if you had legs at that point. Right. You're like, I'm walking.
Yeah.
because what ended up happening at the medical center was about, they took x-rays and they did all this and they're giving you IVs and you're all, you're feeling better. And all I wanted to do was get out of there and go see the guys, make sure, go laugh about it, whatever we need to do. And when I thought I was okay, I stood up and I was on the gurney. I had my hands on the gurney and I passed out. All the adrenaline finally had just left the body.
Yeah.
And I woke back up with, them all standing around going, "You're not going anywhere, Gunny." "No, I got to get out of here, So drank some more Gatorade to get out, but it was all adrenaline at that point. Like I said, I'm glad I was able to stand up. And again, I think the guys, when they look at you and, when we were going through, even through recovery time, they're like, "Gunny, why don't you just go home? You don't need to be, why are you still here?" I go, "'Cause you're still here." Right. That was my answer to them. I'm here 'cause you're here. Well, we're going to leave all together and there's no need for me, and I can still be the platoon commander and help you guys through, admin and the leadership parts and all that. And we'll be good.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great sign of leadership when you're kind of talking about, from walking, making sure that you can walk so your guys can see it, through sticking with them, and I think that, unfortunately we don't see that type of leadership all the time, so kudos to you and your mindset. And then another part of that leadership is, you're recovering and, you're setting the example, you're the inspiration when you're actually realizing that you need to get some help, that, that you're having issues with PTSD and everything else. People see that as like Iron Mike. If Iron Mike can get help, then I can get help. Right.
Yeah.
If he can,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what you hope. Right. And that's what you hope that's the beacon, right? It's like, hey man, there's not it's not a stigma. It's just, that's things that you'll have to go through and you have to manage. But yeah, I remember walking around the shop, and you're like in shorts and bandages and you're just like, there was times I was sitting there like, why am I, I could probably get on a plane and I can get out of here. But yeah, you're just like, no thanks. Because you do have guys, that we had at least one guy there at that time that, he wasn't doing so hot, after he lost, after that, he was just kind of like, I don't want to be in charge. And that's what I look at sometimes too, is like, I even to this day, I look back and I go, man, I don't understand how these guys followed me, right? Like, what did they see in me that made them walk down on an IED also? As a lead, it was kind of hard because as a leader, as an EOD team leader, you have these junior guys that need to learn what you know. But at the same time, you don't want to walk them down on a live IED, but they need to walk down on a live device and do it themselves. But as a mentor or almost like a father figure, you don't want to just let them go down there by themselves. So that was really tough. And I look back at, telling the guy, hey, come on, we'll take care of this IED together. We'll go through the steps, and you walk down there with them, and you're like I said, I look back and I'm like, dude, this guy had so much trust in me. They're like, all right, let's go. The Gunny says it's okay, then it must be okay.
Yeah. Frank, you had a question?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment about Mike, and you having the kind of the resiliency and fortitude to say, no, I'm not going to get on that gurney. I'm going to walk out of here. But it's a mind frame, right? Like it's a mentality. And you even said, well, maybe the explosives didn't do what they were supposed to do. That's why I walked out of there. But there's something to be said about your mentality, and you're refusing to let these things happen to you or your body. You know what I mean? Like you hear that all the time where people push themselves to extraordinary, points in their life where you didn't think that was possible. But because your mentality pushed you to that point well beyond what your body thought it could do.
Definitely. Like I said, I look back and I'm like, wow, what that mind, and the mindset and I don't know. Like I said, it just combat and adrenaline and all that. And I think, part of it is your training too. Yeah. I really do believe part of it is definitely the training and doing things tough and taking it to the, leader. I look back at all my mentors and I'm glad they pushed me farther than I thought I could go. That I think that contributed to it also.
Right. I think so too, because I know that training piece is so important. You guys are looking at it all the time. Like you were in there thinking, oh, this would be a cool component for training later on or whatever else that it kind of led to what was going on. But that's the mindset that I know all of my EOD techs looked at too. They're always like, okay, this could be a new training scenario. We just went to this house and we found whatever. This could be another training scenario. So I think those are really important as well.
Yeah, man, and again, it's just the way the way combat and the way life just throws things at you. Had I not you can sit there, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but had I not, looked in the hole or stepped down there, then all of us would have been down there, and that IED would have went off with the stand, all of us standing around there, and things could have been a lot different.
Yeah.
So how long did you serve after that, Mike?
That 2005, 4 more years.
Okay.
Yep. I retired in 2009.
Yeah.
So
the Marine Corps, they tried hard to keep me.
Yeah.
I requested to retire. What happened was like I said, I finally looked in the mirror and I said, hey man, things are, for the PTSD and dealing with the stuff, things are going bad, and I need to fix this, the drinking problem and all that. And then when I got, funny story. So I get back to North Carolina and they're like, hey man, you're going to go on a MU, you're going to go on a float and you're going to go to Afghanistan. I'm like, okay, great. Well, you go see the medical guy. Cause I knew that my body was hurting. Right. I know my back was hurting, but I was doing what I needed to do. I knew, things, recognite skills, they were fine, but I knew there was something wrong. It wasn't enough to affect my work, but it was enough that you could see something was different. Anyway, so the doc, hey, you can carry a boot, you can carry a rifle, your teeth are clean, you can wear boots, off you go, right? You can go to Afghanistan. They changed their mind halfway in between and said, no, we're going to send you to a mobile training team to Iraq. And from there, I had to go see an official, I don't say official, but I had to go see a full bird naval officer. And when I went to go see them, that's when they caught that I didn't do my post-deployment screening after I got hurt. Everybody just kind of figured everything was fine, and I kind of slid off the grid so I could keep on being an EOD tech, and I never brought it up. So so they caught me, and next thing you know, I'm doing rehabs, I'm doing back rehab, I'm going to appointments like three times a week. And now I'm like, well, wait a minute, the guys, I don't want them seeing this, right? I'm like, I just want to retire. So I asked to retire because I couldn't deploy. Didn't have enough time to be around do training for the guys. And I just kind of felt like, you know what, not going to be a bump on the log. But anyway, the Marine Corps, they tried everything to keep me. Had the Sergeant Major of Manpower. He came, goes, you're Iron Mike. We need you in the Marine Corps. We can find a base for you, and you don't have to deploy, and you don't have to do this, and won't have to run up. You don't have to run a PFT. We can figure it out. And I said, no, I don't want to be that guy because I've seen those guys, and it doesn't matter that I have this popularity. I'm still that guy. Some sergeant coming out of EOD school goes, hey, what's up with that master sergeant or master guns? He never runs a PFT. Oh, well, that's that wasn't the way I wanted to serve in the Marine Corps. And I said, that's not a good role model.
Yeah.
So they finally obviously let me out, but yeah, I was no way.
Did you also struggle? Because I see this a lot because you had so much downrange experience, and then when you come back to home station and kind of dealing with regular home station stuff, right? So you got all this, the trauma that you kind of dealt with, but then you're coming back to home station dealing with all the red tape that typically comes with home station, right? Like some of the bureaucracy. Was that stuff that was really wearing on you as well, by any chance?
Oh yeah, definitely, right? Because things are definitely different. I was a master sergeant. I was the platoon commander. I was in charge of 7 EOD teams. So that's over 21 guys. Some gunnies also are master sergeants that I was dealing with. And coming back to the States, thinking you're still in charge, and then the young guys following you, like ignoring what other people would say because they're like, well, no, Master Sergeant said we could leave, and starting to make officer decisions. I found myself doing at times, and then getting frustrated when, they're like, hey, you're not in charge. It's like, well, I'm a Master Sergeant of the Marine Corps, and we're not going to sit around here and do nothing. So I was having some conflicts with that. Going head to head with the captains or whoever in the shop itself, just because it's hard for that transition to take that step back. And again, when you got your following, you almost have a following. It's not cool. You just have this following. They all admire you. They respect you. So if you say do it, they're gonna do it. And then having other people in the shop where they're like, they didn't like that, or hey man, you can't just do what you want to do. So that there was some issues there.
I can imagine.
Which kind of it pushed me to go to a smaller team, and that's why I ended up like in Camp Fuji. I was like, you know what, let me just take a breath, and I ended up with a 3-man team. I'm the guy in charge, and but I ended up still finding myself involved in the leadership stuff because I just didn't like the way it was going, or thought they could be better, and headbutting with people again. While I was in the Marine Corps, I did use this Iron Mike when it bettered for the Marines, bettered it for the troops. Then I would throw I would throw that clout in that direction just to do that. Run a lead like corporal's course. I'd run the corporal. I was like, man, I'm going to run the corporal's course, or I'm going to run this leadership course, or I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to put my own spin on it because I think it's this way or that.
Yeah. So did you enjoy, because, military, we like our role models. We like our spokespersons. And did you like to be that spokesperson, or did you prefer not to have that light?
I liked it when it was being used positive. As long as it was being used positive. It was just, to throw some drinks around or whatever, or just to BS around, and but if it was benefiting somebody in a positive manner, then I had no problem. And I liked it. You're like, oh, this worked. I made conditions better in the barracks because I could walk into the colonel's office and sit down and be like, oh, Iron Mike, come sit, what's going on? Oh, hey, sir, we got this or that going on, and just kind of sometimes skip stuff if it wasn't working in favorably. Right. I remember in Ramadi that I had 2 young PFCs. They weren't EOD guys, they're our workers, and they went on Thanksgiving, went to the chow hall, and all the guys, like I said, were doing 7, lots of calls. Everybody's busy. And they went in there and, hey, we're EOD. Iron Mike, the guy that flipped the bird, that's my boss. And I'm here. And they collected a couple of tubs of ice cream, and they gave him a whole turkey and all that. And they had brought it back to the shop. And, they're like, wow. I hope you don't mind, Gunny. We told them, that you sent us, that Iron Mike sent us. Here you go, right? I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
The day after, the AC had gone out in the barracks in our living area, not really barracks, our living area there in Ramadi. And, I'm sweating. I got all these wounds, I got these holes in me, and I'm sweating, and my guys are coming back from calls, and they can't cool down. So, here I am walking out in my shorts and just, bandages around my legs going, hey, get this thing fixed. Who ran over the cable? And, within minutes, they're fixing it. So I enjoyed those times too. You're like, oh, this is pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. Hey, so we're coming up on about an hour, and we just, man, we really appreciated you sharing your story, and I think a lot of our listeners are going to get some nuggets out of that, Mike. But we always like to wrap these up with what we call the leadership rapid fire. So we're going to ask you a series of 4 questions.
All right.
And basically the questions are, I'm going to ask them to you, and it's however you want to interpret them and however you want to answer them. Sound good?
Okay. Excellent.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Question 1, what is your favorite leadership trait?
Oh, man. Courage.
Awesome. All right. What is your favorite quote?
Keep your powder dry.
Keep your powder dry. Nice.
And that came back. That comes out of Britain with the Irish and the English fighting back in I believe the 1800s, because the muskets. They always the one thing they needed to do is keep that black powder dry in order to fire their rounds. So I always kept that as always keep your powder dry.
Awesome. All right. What would be a book that you would recommend for an aspiring leader?
Gunny.
The Gunny. Okay. Sweet. We'll make sure we add that to the
That's
notes
awesome.
as well.
It's about a Medal of Honor, a Vietnam Medal of Honor recipient. And the way the book is written, it's for anybody to read. And you can, if you've been in combat, you enjoy it. If you haven't been in combat, you actually get a really good taste of how leadership and how people are viewed during those times. This Gunny is amazing. This Gunny is amazing. Just walking, picking up wounded and dragging them back, and bullets are flying around. It's like nothing else existed. Right, other than his wounded Marine and him, and he's going to get him back, to safety. So anyway, that Gunny is definitely the book.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll make sure we add that to the show notes too, so our listeners can check it out. All right. The final question. This is the deep question of the day. So we're at the Llama Lounge. We're all about life, learning, and leadership. So the question is, how do you find your harmony between life, learning, and leadership?
My family, definitely. My wife, my son.
Awesome. Perfect. Man, Mike, we really appreciate you taking the time, man. And if you, we wanted to also offer you, if you wanted to say any final words to our listeners about anything, man, we really appreciate you sharing your story with us.
I appreciate you guys reaching out to me, and this has been awesome. And anybody that, they want to reach out and, want to hear some more stories, or, you guys want to hear some more stuff. I mean, lots of time.
Yeah.
I have a lot of COVID on my with the COVID and all these lockdowns and stuff. I got plenty of time to talk, right? And I'm there for them if there's somebody that's got some things on their mind or need to get some stuff off too. Yeah. I can be a great sounding board, and I'll make sure you got my contact. I think you already have most of my contact information, but
I sure do.
Again, you never leave service. Whether you're a veteran, I'm here.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm about to take you up on that. I know my EOD guys would be real excited to be able to get on a Zoom chat with you. Maybe you could share some of your stories with them. They'd love it.
And I love that, right? Yeah. That one is, you don't always have to relive, the bad times. You can also have some great times when you're talking to fellow EOD techs. You can have some good laughs and even learn some stuff. And I've done that here. Gone over to the Army, EOD, and hang out with them and just chat about life.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to set that up. I really appreciate it, Mike. And to all our
you too. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks,
Mike. What time is it, man? It's what, like 4 in the morning there?
It's 9. It's 9 a.m.
Yeah. We let them sleep in. We let them sleep in a little bit. So awesome. Thank you. Yep. And to all our listeners, as always, be safe, stay healthy, and llamas are out.
Llamas out.
Thanks for tuning in to the Llama Lounge podcast. Be sure to visit the homepage for links to products and services related to this episode. And don't forget to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice. See you next time.